Hello, everybody, and welcome to Late Night Football. Welcome to another episode of our weekly chatter. Yes, we have a name now. We call it weekly chatter. I think we'll see. Maybe we'll come up with another name. I don't know, but for now, that's the best I can come up with. You can put in suggestions in the comments. Actually, if you think of a name for this show, you can let us know what you would like it to be called. We call it weekly gossip. We don't really gossip. Madrid call it weekly gossip, weekly rumor mongering, or something. But anyway, weekly spotlight. That's another one.
Weekly
But
something.
something, yeah. Yeah, let us know what do you think. And I put giving you some ideas to inspire, and we'll see, what you guys can come up with. But as always, we have Knayha on the show. Knayha, welcome back. Nice to have you again.
Thank you. Happy to be back again. We're doing this for the third time. It almost feels like surreal. Are we doing this every week now?
Yeah, we got this as a weekly thing going. Yeah, it's the third time it's the third. Yeah, it's the third in a row. We'll see. We'll see how long the streak continues. All right, but anyway, let's get into it. We've done a lot of different things. We talked about Serie A. We talked about I don't know. I can't even remember what was our first show about. What was our first show about?
I think it was. I think did we not talk about?
Oh, we talked about the transfers and free agency.
The transfers,
and yeah. So free agents. So you see, we're still grappling with the format. Yeah, we still don't know what the format of the show is, but anyway, we make it up as we go along because that's what all great showrunners do. But anyway, but today it's a little bit different. We're actually doing a version of 3 questions. So we chose 3 questions at random. We didn't ask you guys for them because I know nobody would have answered them probably, but we chose 3 questions that we thought were very interesting. Not necessarily topical at the moment, but they're interesting for us to discuss. And we're kind of going to give our opinions on that. Let us know in the comment section what you think about answers, and if you think that made sense, if you thought we were completely off base. But I'm gonna see, and let's see how we go along with that. So got 3 questions. So we'll start with the first one. Knayha, for you, talk about. Chelsea just won the Club World Cup. Fantastic achievement, by the way. And every year when this happens, when the Club World Cup comes around, people ask the question: Is it really a relevant competition? Is it a necessary competition? Do we need a Club World Cup and all that? What's your take on it? Not to say the Chelsea win, but just in general, what's your take on the competition?
So it's almost like it came out of nowhere. It was basically again like how UEFA or FIFA are kind of looking at, okay, how do we put something which allows you to kind of have more marketing and kind of as an outreach as well, and then see how this goes. Because I was reading it through the Wikipedia sometime back, and it basically does say that it was a marketing. They basically started as a marketing event, and it started in 2000. That's the inaugural one.
So actually, just to interrupt you there, the history of the Club World Cup actually goes back, I think, to the 60s, probably, maybe when it goes to the 60s. It actually started as what they used to call it the Intercontinental Cup, which was the winners of South America or the Copa Libertadores was the winner of the Champions League.
Yeah.
So that is the history of it. So it's actually a long history. It wasn't something that somebody just came up with one day. It was a long history. And then I guess FIFA got its hands on it. And then in 2000, they had this, big tournament, which is completely random. But then it kind of became a thing in 2005 when they actually, expanded into the Confederation. So that's
exactly. So. And since then it's been there. But then it's one of those tournaments where you're like, okay, it's definitely, I feel that it gives, like, it's outside Europe. It allows the outside Europe teams or country or the leagues to kind of compete with them on a different level. It's mostly like you would have expected the Nations League to actually have a lot of nations, but then again, Nations League is still European, which is kind of still weird. But so this was kind of a way to have.
Well, it is the UEFA Nations League. So
exactly. So yeah, exactly my point. So hence, FIFA felt they had a bigger responsibility here or something. They needed to put out a tournament. I don't see the relevance. That's my question. That's my the relevance to what it brings to the table. I don't see it to have any substantial relevance in that sense. Yeah, like again, the Chelsea winning it does it matter? Does Chelsea kind of do Chelsea fans kind of go crazy that they beat Palmeiras, I guess, and be like, okay, we did this. I don't think so. I don't see Chelsea fans kind of boasting to City fans right now and be like, haha, we are the World Club champions. Nobody says that, right?
Well, I mean, in Europe, they probably don't say that they're world champions. I know what we should have a Nishikant Sudan talking about this. Maybe they can answer the comments what they think about it, because I'm sure they've probably gloated a little bit somewhere. But you know what? It is actually taken very seriously in Brazil, at least when Palmeiras played Chelsea. Because Santos have won it, Corinthians have won it, Sao Paulo have won it. If you know anything about Brazilian football, there's like these clubs that are sort of in a certain region that they all hate each other. Basically, the fans are in a big rivalry. Talking South American amplified live rivalry. So there is a lot of tons there that Palmeiras have never been world champions, whereas the other three have. So there is that. So there is definitely taken seriously in some parts of the world. I would disagree. I think it is relevant. I think again, this goes back to my love for the Europa League as well. I like competitions where you're not seeing the same teams play the same teams every time, which is kind of what's happening with the Champions League. And again, I know I'm not saying that the Champions League is an inferior competition to Europa or whatever. I'm just saying this is a personal preference that I like to see new matches. I like to see, the teams playing the teams that you don't normally see, because, every year in the league, in the Premier League, you're going to see United against City, you're going to see United against Liverpool, you're going to see United against Aston Villa, you're going to see these matches, and they're great, but it happens every year. And then, you come to Europe and you get to see fresh matches, right? Rather than seeing United PSG every season, which we're very, very likely we might get that again this year if things go a certain way. We're going to see United PSG again. We're going to see, there was a period when I think Arsenal were playing Bayern every season, Arsenal playing Barcelona every season. Bayern play Barcelona every season. You don't want those kind of matches. And that's why I like the Club World Cup. In the long way, I like it because you'll never see a United against Palmeiras. You might see it once in a lifetime or maybe twice in a lifetime. You'll never see it happen, every year or every 2 years or whatever, right? Same thing with Chelsea against Palmeiras, or Chelsea against Corinthians. You won't see these kind of matches. Or Chelsea, I actually put this post up. I still remember when United took on the actually, I remember this one and I forgot. They took on the Japanese club. And I forget the name of it now. I think it was Urawa. Was it Kashima Antlers? I
think it was Gamba Osaka.
Gamba Osaka, yes. I know it ended with an A, but Gamba Osaka, yes. Gamba Osaka. And I remember that season actually following the AFC Champions League, not the UEFA, but the AFC Champions League. And I thought Yasuhito Endo was a fantastic, Japanese player. And it was surreal to see him playing against United because, like, okay, you'll never see it. It never happened again. It just happened one time. But, it's those kind of things, those kind of moments that they matter. Again, I do feel it's a competition that if you win it, you like it. If you're not in it, you're like, it doesn't matter. But I think it has relevance. I think it is a nice little competition. It's only 2 games. You're not playing 5-6 games. You're playing 2 games. If you're a European team, you're only playing 2 games. For the rest of the field, they get a chance to, get that exposure as well. I mean, a lot of Asian players, a lot of North American players, South American players, they get that opportunity to, get that exposure, which they otherwise don't get because the UEFA Champions League has a big exposure. The other clubs in the other continents sadly do not have it. And so this is an opportunity for them to shine. So, why not? 2 games, why not? Let's do it. And that's what I would say. But, I get people thinking differently. But I just feel that there's some snobbishness when it comes to fans of European clubs where, certain things are seen as beneath them.
Exactly. It's like the same thing, like the whole it's a different topic, but then it's the same thing with AFCON. Like the AFCON is not taken seriously. Like it's like why and then you have European clubs and it's kind of stopping or putting hold, and they're like, okay, we won't allow that player to go and stuff, and and then it's a different topic. But what I feel that it doesn't, the relevance is basically, it's not kind of that, because it limits in a way as well. Like the games are pretty limited. Like as you said, it's just 2 days, and it's just kind of a lot of local clubs across playing, and you see clubs which will never kind of play together, or they just get an opportunity to play in a way, and then come to this level. That does kind of is a different thing. But then I still kind of, it's maybe it just takes time to kind of grow on you. You just need to follow it a little more, or kind of maybe just you need to kind of have that mentality as well, that you're fine with looking at games which really basically have no other significance, or just for the love of the game.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It is not a tournament where you're going to go. I mean, I know AC Milan, when they won it, actually, they were like, this is one of our goals of the season. Yeah. That's what Kaka said. And I was like, okay, this was a long time ago, by the way. I'm dating myself here. But I felt like, that's okay. That's a little bit over the top. So you wouldn't necessarily have that as a goal for your season. But it's a nice it's a competition that you want to, that, you know, if you're in it and you want to be, like, it's not one that you want to be in, but when you're in it, you you know, it's fun. It's a fun competition.
Yeah,
It's one to enjoy. And, you know, is it relevant to the point that somebody would go, well, you know, if you don't win it, the season is a failure, or or no, something, maybe not. But at the same time, it's not something that, you know, needs to be looked down upon. It's one to be enjoyed and one to be.
I would say it also depends on how you're doing in your other domestic leagues and then be like, oh, at least we won something. Like for Chelsea right now, that's not a bad thing.
Well,
they won something already. But
well,
yeah.
Well, I mean, they did win the Super Cup, didn't they? They won the European Super Cup. So
that's 2 for the season, I would say, right?
Yeah.
So they would count this as like we've done the double is already there.
Yeah, well, they could say that. Yeah, they did double. Well, it was Jose Mourinho, he probably would. If he wins the League Cup, he might have his 3 fingers up. You know, but yeah, anyway, I liked it. I like the competition. And again, I like most competitions. I don't, you know, every competition is something to be enjoyed. So that's just my opinion. Anyway, there we go. That's the first one out. So now we can move on to question number 2, which is very interesting. So this happened, obviously last week was the peak of this, and it's kind of died down a little bit, but it's still one that I thought was very, and then maybe the fact that it's died down also might have something to tie into how we respond to this. But we're talking about the Kurt Zouma incident where he was, you know, kicked a cat, and obviously it was a horrific thing to do. You know, well, here we don't condone animal cruelty at all on this channel. I'm sure a lot of people don't. But anyway, it happened, and there was a lot of reaction to it. And then, of course, West Ham decided to not do anything initially, and he played, and then there was even more reaction to it. And things have happened since then. I don't want to get into all of it, but a lot of things have been said, a lot of things have been done. Knayha, do you think the reaction to the whole incident was that justified, or do you think it was overblown? Because that became the other contentious piece, was that, are we overreacting to this incident, or are we, you know, are we justified in what we're doing? What do you think?
I think this again, like, you know, it almost feels like it's kind of each player is under so much scrutiny that, and you know, this was okay. This is I completely condone animal cruelty. I don't, that doesn't, you know, that I'm not justifying his actions, but there would be players who would not record it, but then do something similar and then be like, okay, where do we, like, so are we saying that because he was seen doing it, then we make it a thing? Or is it more of an, so like that's where I feel that it's kind of not, I won't say it's overblown. It got its attention. It needed attention. So because it kind of alerts everybody around it that, you know, this is kind of not tolerated, which is great. You make an example of somebody. That's how you want to kind of show that, yeah, this is serious. But you know, the way it kind of started, you know, West Ham kind of, and then the way David Moyes is kind of saying that it's, you know, the club will look at it. I'm thinking about the football. So it's like, you know, you kind of start kind of, you're basically kind of distancing yourself out of it, but but then still kind of selecting him. It's the manager's choice. He's basically saying that football is more important to me, which is fine. But then the whole incident kind of then gathers more momentum. It doesn't die down. So like, that's kind of the thing. It would have died. It would have kind of settled much quicker if David Moyes would have decided not to kind of play him and then be like, okay, this is just like, we are reprimanding him in a way. And that's what kind of like, okay, I'm not comparing what Grealish and Foden were kind of reprimanded for the disciplinary thing. But this is again a disciplinary thing. You know, you're not supposed to, you can't be cruel to animals. That's it. Period. That there's nothing more than that. But then, you know, him playing it, I think, just kind of got more air. And then, you know, he's there and on the field, and the fans are like feeling, what does our club represent? Because then you're kind of, it's much more bigger. It's much bigger than just Kurt Zouma and the incident. Then it's much more like the West Ham player Kurt Zouma, and then West Ham fans kind of who would have felt like this does not feel right. And then, but then, yeah, of course, the social media thing, it just kind of got overblown. And then, you know, the misstep that was done by West Ham, they're not kind of, I feel that, you know, kind of saying that, okay, I'm the, you know, he still plays, and I think that was a misstep. It would have easily kind of died down if they've just played somebody else and then dropped him for that game. But then he gets fined. You know, his brother gets, yeah, he's suspended, and that has repercussions. It felt that it could have been dealt in a different way by the club, and that would have just been that, and it would not have gotten this much air that it got on social media. But it's now died down. It's now kind of under the bridge in a way. But then this will always be kind of associated to him now. Kurt Zouma will always be associated to somebody who was cruel to his cat, and that kind of and that's not a good image.
It's like Michael Vick, isn't it? If you know Michael Vick and what he did. You can Google Michael Vick and find out what he's done. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting, what you mentioned there about the club's reaction. I think some of the calls were there for him to be dropped from the team, to have his contract rescinded and all of that. I don't think any of that would have happened if the club had taken action right away. And I think if they had just said, we're going to suspend him for 1 week, 2 weeks, whatever, fine him, whatever. I think, people, sadly to say this, people have memories of a goldfish. And so we forget things very quickly, we get outraged and then we forget things very quickly. I include myself in that. We're all that way, because ultimately life takes over, right? So that's just the way it is. So maybe it could have been dealt better by the club. So I don't think in a way the reaction was overblown. I know some people might say it was overblown. I don't think it was overblown, but I think it just it just blew up because of the fact that the club didn't do what they needed to do in the first place. If they'd done that, then it wouldn't seem overblown, because basically what it was that there was reaction to it, and then the club had taken action, and it kind of goes down. But by not taking action, it meant that the people were thinking, okay, so we've not made enough of a noise, so now let's make more noise. That's kind of how it goes, right? You ignore one, then you get a second wave. So that's basically what happened. So and that's where it feels like it was overblown, but it wasn't. I think it just was making more noise. But that being said, I think at the end of the day, it's now died down. As we can see, there's not a lot of chat around it. So that's kind of how things go. You the first thing that you want to do is, if somebody is being accused of that, you basically get them out of the public eye. You don't play them for their own good. You don't play them. You don't do, you keep them out of the public eye. You let people's angers die down, settle down, and then you kind of do whatever you need to do.
Yeah, you just you basically do the risk management part of it. Like he's your, and then so yeah, I think it's not the ideal situation to be for the club. But then I think the manager had a say there. He basically said, I want him, and then that was it, I guess.
It's not an apples to apples comparison, but with Mason Greenwood, I mean,
exactly. So that's
much worse, by the way. But he's not, basically he hasn't been seen anywhere. Nobody's heard from him, and now we don't even talk about his case much, do we? That's just like in the background. Whatever's happening is happening. Nobody cares. Nobody talks about it. Eventually, when the verdict comes out, we'll see what happens. But for now, it's like nobody even thinks or talks about Mason Greenwood. But anyway,
exactly.
And
I think that was kind of that's one thing I didn't want to kind of mention. But then, as you've said about it, it's something which did kind of is the way that Manchester United dealt with it. It basically is like, he's not going to start, or he's not going to be seen in training. We're going to help him with this case. That's what they've said. We're going to get him to and also help the administration to kind of get the best answers or what's happened there. And that's the way to kind of deal with it. Like as an adult, like, okay, we have an issue here. Let's kind of deal with this properly with the proper channels. And I'm not saying that it's died down. I mean, it's still kind of horrendous what's come out, and we're still waiting to hear more on what actually has happened and what the administrators do come out with their own findings. But then these are two contrasting situations again. But one is like worse, but then the way they've dealt with it, the club could have been something that West Ham could have followed here as well, and basically said that, okay, we want to kind of ban him for a week or two, suspend him for a week or two, and then so that he has his own, and maybe do some community hours. That just kind of builds more faith, and something like that they could have done. And then this goes that could have had lesser repercussions.
You're talking PR stuff here, but I mean, the easiest way to deal with it is don't kick a cat. Obviously, don't do that.
Absolutely.
And B, even if it was an accident, I don't think it was, but even if it was an accident, don't record it and put it up on social media, because that makes no sense. But anyway, I don't know why. I don't know what his brother was thinking putting that up anyway. But anyway, we'll move on to question number. And again, by the way, just to be clear here, I'm not saying that people should commit crimes and not and not record them or not get caught. What I'm saying is, don't do the crime in the first place. I'm not saying this is a crime or whatever. Don't do a wrong thing in the first place. And even if you do a wrong thing by accident, because accidents happen, don't post it on social media, right? Be careful, be mindful of what you do. So anyway, on that note, we'll get into question number 3, which is final one. I think it's interesting. See, every year around this time, February time comes, the Champions League resumes, and it did resume, by the way. We haven't done a review because I think we'll wait till next week to do that if you want, or we'll wait till the second leg. So we'll see how to do that. But every time the Champions League, knockout stages come on, and then this question comes around: can Pep win the Champions League this year with Manchester City? Will this be the year that Pep will win it with Manchester City? What do you think? I guess there's 2 parts. So number 1, do you think Pep can win the Champions League with Manchester City? And B, does it matter if he wins the Champions League with Manchester City? If he never wins it with Manchester City, does it even matter? Because he's already done so much for the club. You're muted.
I think it matters to him. It matters to his legacy in a way. Bayern Munich was one of those experiences where he tried and couldn't. And I don't think he's remembered there, but he's not fondly remembered there in a way that he was the most successful, because I think the year after Pep left, they did win the.
No, it was
2 years. 2 years after.
2 years after.
2 years
Because
after.
it was 2-3 years, because he left in 2016 and they didn't win it until 2020. So that was 4 years.
Yeah. Okay. So, but then it basically.
They won it the year before he came.
Yes, and so that's what I'm trying to say. Like, the gap was like, while he was there, it was not one, and then before it was one, and then after they won it either as well. Then so it's same for Manchester City. He's won everything in the Premier League and other local, the FA Cup, everything that's
hasn't
out there.
Won the Club World Cup though.
Yeah, but I don't. Yeah, that could be something that he has his minds on for next year. But then I think Champions League is something that he wants to. He likes that. He wants to play at the best level. That's Champions League is like a different level and a league altogether. And he wants to kind of stamp his authority there. And I think and he has a team right now, which can actually. So every year we kind of, as you said, every year February we kind of talk about like the best team ever. What's wrong with them having Kevin De Bruyne and Mahrez playing at such a great level, Foden, and now the 100 million Grealish as well. So they've all the components to win it, but then they do falter at the later stages. Like, so it's he wants to win this, even if he doesn't want to admit it. And I think even if you see the game, if you saw the game and the post-match conference, he basically said we could have improved. He didn't kind of lay low. He basically did say that, okay, we could have played better. So I think he has, that's his mind right now. He's basically like, I might even say that Pep Guardiola right now, if he's given a choice, he would love to lose the Premier League and just kind of focus on the Champions League if given a choice. But then he knows that it's consistency which requires, and then it can't be that he loses in Premier League and still continues to win in Champions League. That momentum kind of, you don't want to lose that. So I think that's kind of one thing that I also feel in a way is that Pep Guardiola wants to win the Champions League. Like, I don't know if he's desperate, but then that will be a great thing with City, and because he's transformed that team completely. What do you think about it?
Can he win it? I guess is the question this year. Will he do it this year? Will he do it? Can he do it this year? Because that's the more important question, isn't it?
I think he has the team. Like, if I look at the team, they are playing at a very different level altogether. Like, but then we've just had the first leg with Sporting. Sporting is not bad, but then I'm just looking at what happens when they play. If Bayern Munich goes through, I don't know.
We want to do. Okay, I'll answer that question later. But okay, yeah.
But that's kind of the thing. Like, who? Yeah, there are clubs like. I would say will the two Premier League clubs play each other? Like, will Liverpool and City kind of they can't play together, right? They can only play in the finals.
From the
quarterfinals. Yeah. So that's going to be interesting. So I'm more interested on the draw that way, because this is their best chance, I would say, because there's some top draws which are not performing. Like, okay, PSG, Real Madrid, it could tip any which way, but then if it's Real Madrid, then it's much difficult. But then, so Pep can win. I would say Pep can win the Champions League this season, and he wants to. But then it's more on the consistency if they maintain it and so on, and then who goes through and from the others, because it's not been consistent for the other top clubs. So what do you think about it?
Here's what I think. You talked about Bayern, Liverpool, so you don't have to worry about that because they're not playing either of them until the final. I'm making this prediction right now. They're not playing either of them until the final. They're not gonna. That's just not gonna happen. They're probably gonna play the winner of the Ajax. The Ajax will probably win that, but whoever wins that one, I don't know who Ajax are playing actually, but I think Ajax are
Benfica.
Benfica, yes, Benfica, correct, yes, Ajax, Benfica. So I don't see Benfica beating Ajax, to be honest, but they will play the winner of that round in the next game. That's who they will play. And then they'll probably play whoever wins from, because I would assume that it will be PSG versus Atletico, and the other one, whoever wins that one, they will play.
So you've already put Manchester United out. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, well, maybe United. Well, I'm sure UEFA will want United to go through because they want to do PSG United, so that will happen. I'll wait till the second leg before I decide if United have a chance. But to be honest, on current form, they don't look like they have a chance. But whoever wins that will be Real Atletico or PSG United or whatever. It will be those two that will play. That's my prediction, by the way. And the winner of that tie, that's who will play. Between PSG, Real, Atletico, and United, whoever wins that, whoever comes out from that, they'll be playing Manchester City. So they're going to keep Liverpool and Bayern away from City until the final. This is my prediction. I'll be very, very surprised if I see City play either of them before the final, because that's how it is. So based on that, I feel City are going to win it this year, just because they always seem to have the luck of the draw. They always seem to have it. I don't know why. I don't know what sort of voodoo Pep has done or Sheikh has done. I don't know who has done, but somebody has done some voodoo. That they always seem to get easy draws in every cup competition. This time that they didn't get an easy draw because they played West Ham in the very second game in the cup, they went out.
Yeah.
So that's how it is with City. And even I think they played Chelsea in the semifinals, they went out. So that's just the thing with City. As long as they do get easy, they do get easy draws, and I don't know why, but they get them, and they will get them this year as well. And for that reason, I think they will definitely get to the final. Can they win it? Yeah, because it's a one-off game. You never know what will happen in a one-off game, but I think they'll have that experience of what happened last year. And I do think the only two teams that are really on their level are Liverpool and Bayern, but Bayern are struggling right now. I think Nagelsmann is having some issues. So can they, will they be able to hold off City? I don't think so. Will Liverpool be able to do it? Yes. Can they do it in a big game? That's a big question, isn't it? So but I just feel that City will do it this year. I think this is the year that they'll do it. By the way, Liverpool actually on a quadruple. They could actually do a quadruple technically, actually speaking, because they're still sort of in the league days, barely hanging on. They're still there. Yes, they could do a quadruple this season, which would be very, very interesting. But
they're in the final as well, and
they're in the final of the Carabao Cup. They're still in the FA Cup. They're still in the. They have a pretty easy draw, I think, in the FA Cup. I think they're playing Norwich, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So they have an easy draw there as well. They have an what do you call it? I think they have an easy draw. Not an easy draw, but they're going to be in the next round of the Champions League too. So by the way, just to be clear on this, because people might think I'm biased. So here's what my quarterfinal. I'm making this prediction right now, but here's what I think the quarterfinals will look like. Just because people might go with bias City. So I think City will play Ajax, Chelsea will play Bayern. That will be the one. Liverpool will play the Juventus or Villarreal, whoever wins that one, and then you've got PSG Real will play Atletico or United if somehow they make it. That's my prediction. And it's very simple. It's a very logical prediction based on how UEFA likes to do it, because they always like to have one marquee tie. In each one, they need to have one marquee tie. So that will be, either if it's Real Atletico or PSG United, Real United, those are marquee ties. So they want that. They will want to keep Bayern, Liverpool, and City away from each other until the semifinals, because three teams, they can't keep them away in the semifinals. They probably would want them all three to play each other in the semifinal, and then whatever. But then that will be they'll keep those three separate. So therefore, Liverpool have to play. So it could be Liverpool, Chelsea, and Bayern, Juventus, but I feel like they'll want. But I feel like they'll want Liverpool, Bayern, and Liverpool, Bayern, and City. They want them to make it to the final. Semifinals. They want those two to make the semifinals, so they'll give them the easiest possible routes to get there. So this is just my conspiracy theory and years of looking at how UEFA rigs draws, because the draws are rigged, whether you want to believe it or not, they are rigged in some ways. Not necessarily in terms of actual ties, but they do have a system of what they want, and so they have to work with that. So that's what I feel will happen. But anyway,
almost feels realistic, and it's like almost we are already in the finals. And then I don't really need to look at the draws and how this goes, because we're already kind of saying that City is going to be there. So it's going to be interesting who comes against them. I think it's going to be Liverpool in my mind, but then
I think a Liverpool City final is the one that makes the most obvious sense. And like I said, I'll be surprised. I mean, it could happen. It could happen that City play Liverpool or Bayern in the quarters or the semis. It could happen, but it's just unlikely based on what we've seen, because they never goes that way, does it? And you can take all the years of draws from the last few years, and you can see who they played and how they played. They never really. I mean, only last season was the first time they got to the semis. Yeah. So we haven't really seen them. But if you look at the draws, they've got Spurs, they've got Liverpool, who are not necessarily the best at their times. They got Liverpool, they got Spurs, they got Lyon. Of all the teams, you get Lyon, Wolfsburg. They get these are the kind of draws that they get. So and of course they managed to mess up a few of them, but that's the kind of teams that they faced in the quarters. Anyway, but on that note, what do you? So I mean, that's my prediction. I think they will do it. I think they'll win it this year. I just have a feeling that because
it's going to be very interesting too. It's with Pep's team. It's always like every year it's like, okay, they can win it now, and then we're like, okay, who are they missing? Because I'm just thinking, what happens if they don't, or like what happens if they don't win it, and then okay, they win the Premier League, because I think they're only in the Premier League and the Champions League, right?
The FA Cup
and the FA Cup, and so they can do the triple.
Yeah, maybe that's all United fans are hoping that somebody stops them from doing this. That's literally all we are doing now. We become Arsenal, right? Arsenal worry about Invincibles Day. We'll have to start celebrating Treble Day. That's what we'll have to start celebrating. The day when no team can do a treble anymore. Like that's just
that's our hope again as Manchester United fans, which is sad, but then that's the reality of it. But I think they can still do the treble, and Liverpool is still out there for a quadruple, which is going to be very interesting, because both the clubs are kind of like at their own like top level. They're looking at each other and basically be like, okay, what, like it's kind of like not a barter system, but kind of like, okay, we want to win it all, but it won't happen that one team will win it all. Because
it can't, City are out, so it can't happen that one team can win.
Like but then on the treble, but at least with they all three are competing. I think it's going to be very interesting. I would see the draw of quarterfinal. It'll be very surprising if Liverpool or City draw Liverpool or anybody or Bayern in a way, and it's going to be very interesting to see then what happens. But Pep has the team to kind of win it, I would say.
Yeah, I just want to also reiterate, I don't think Ajax is an easy draw for any team, but but it's the kind of draw that it's just like Dortmund last season. They weren't an easy team, but they were difficult teams that they could have gotten. And Dortmund, the way that they plays into how City like to play. And same with Ajax. The way Ajax plays, City will like, Pep will like that. He'll like that sort of style. So it just works for him. So anyway, we'll see what happens. That was our sort of 3 questions. We've taken answers. Let us know what you think. I'm sure we ruffled a few feathers. Whether those few feathers are want to share their opinion, you can let us know what you think about that. Let us know do you think City will win the Champions League? Do you think the Club World Cup is an important competition to keep going? By the way, on the note of the Club World Cup, before I finish, it's only going to be another 2 years, because in 2024 we've got a new competition that's coming. I don't know if it's going to replace what's currently there, or if this one will continue as an annual competition, and then they'll have a big glitzy glamorous thing in 2024, like summer tournament. I don't know how that's going to work. We don't even know yet what that's going to look like. But we'll see. So maybe we're not even have to worry about this for more than 2 years. We just talked about it. We're not even have to worry about it. But we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that's sad for all the Premier League or the La Liga clubs who just won them like last couple of years. Yeah, it's like they can't win it anymore.
I mean, it will not be there, but I'm sure they'll still be recognized as world champions.
There'll be something, yeah.
Yeah, it's just the format will change. The tournament will remain. The format will change. So we'll see. Whether this format will remain, of it being annual 6 team or 7 teams, whatever, every year. They have 7 teams that play. 7 teams who play every year. So we'll see about that. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much, Knayha, for joining me on this show. Always nice to hear your comments and thoughts. And thank you everyone for watching. Do remember to subscribe to our channel if you're new. We're getting close. We've got past 500 followers on Facebook, but we're still getting close to 500 likes on Facebook. So yes, thank you to everyone who's followed us, but remember to hit the like button, because that's what Facebook wants us to do, to hit the like. So please do hit the like button and hit the follow button. Do both, they're free. We don't charge you for your membership. So, do hit both of them. So, we can kind of get those numbers up. We're also getting close to 140 subscribers on YouTube. So thank you to everyone who has subscribed recently, and please do continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. And you can do both. You can subscribe on YouTube. You can also like us on Facebook. It's definitely great to have both there. So thank you so much for watching, we hope to hear from you, your comments, your thoughts on what we just discussed, and of course we'll see you again very, very soon, because We'll probably have a review show, a preview show tomorrow for the Premier League games coming up this weekend. We'll probably do that as well tomorrow. So we'll see you again very soon. Take care. Bye.